Yeah, people, what's up? It's Robert Bassano. I was taking a little gander at Lockheed Martin's YouTube channel, and I know I talked about the shape construct of the Earth before. I've heard a lot of people talk about we don't really know what the shape of the Earth is. However, there is something out there called the International Ellipsoid Reference System. I'll say it again. International Ellipsoid Reference System, which discusses flattening. Okay? Flattening. And I'm going to show you that reference system so that we're all clear that NASA knows what the shape of the Earth is, DARPA knows what the shape of the Earth is, and so does the executive administration for the President of the United States, of our body of government. I'm going to show you. They all agree what the shape of the Earth is. And then I'm going to show you something that Lockheed actually illustrates on with regard to their capabilities on mapping of the Earth. Okay? Stand by. So, what I'd like to show you guys is this. This is the World Geodetic System of 1984, which discusses an ellipsoid. Okay? This is very important because these are international reference systems which are used all around the world. Okay? That's what they are. They're international reference systems. Okay? International. And if you can't accept the international standard, and you don't have your own standard from which to establish some sort of other alternative model, then you have to go with what the international standard is. And I emphasize why you have to go with that. Because you don't have nothing else to go on other than visual or physical experimentation. And you don't have the resources, you don't have the tools, you don't have the wherewithal to conduct that. But I'm providing you with this information for the simple reason of this. The rest of the world, every government agency who deals in these sciences, they know it's an ellipsoid. But what's interesting about what I'm going to show you and what I'm going to discuss with you is going to be revealed in a particular theorem that didn't come to the light of day until the 19th century. And I found it really interesting. But let's read this, okay? We don't need to read the general. You can find this online at earth-info.nga.mil. I'm going to provide it in the link in the description for all of you to read it yourselves, okay? But they discuss here the equipotential ellipsoid, okay? An equipotential ellipsoid or level ellipsoid is an ellipsoid defined to be an equipotential surface. If an ellipsoid of revolution with semi-major axis A and a semi-minor axis B is given, then it can be made an equipotential surface, and they show the constant. Now, for those who are familiar with mathematics, you have to have some sort of mathematical constant, meaning that this doesn't change at all. Okay? So when they say an equipotential surface of a certain potential function u, called the normal theoretical gravity potential, this function is uniquely determined by the means of the ellipsoid surface, semi-axes A and B, then enclosed mass. Now, the key word here that I focused on, and again, I'm not trying to pull at things to get you to convince you that this is the answer, this is not the answer, but look at the wording here. Look at the meaning of the context of this sentence. The function is uniquely determined by the means of the ellipsoid surface, semi-axis A and B, the enclosed mass, M. The enclosed mass, people, is the flat, plane, solid mass, Earth surfaces, and the waters. The enclosed mass. Meaning that they're saying it's a ellipsoid shape of some sort of gases, electricity, other types of matter that we still can't define and you know, in any sort of definitive sense. But they're describing the Earth contained within the ellipsoid, the Earth we walk on, drive on, travel on, as the enclosed mass. And then they go on to say, and the angular velocity, W, according to a theorem of Stokes-Poincare, quite independently of the internal density distribution. Now, I wanted to look up the theorem of Stokes-Poincare, and I did that. And I found something interesting. And this fell in line. I had not researched this before, people, so I want to let you know that. I'm doing this raw, reading the documents, just like I always do. You know my mantra, it's not what you know, it's what you can prove. And my theorems and my hypothesis and my views and positions on this whole entire process has been dynamic. But if all of you, those of you who've been watching my videos, remember, I intentionally put out a video stating that we have a multi-layered Earth system. The center of it was fixed, and the outer layers rotated. But I didn't know which outer layers. But Stokes, they defined it. They developed a theorem to define which potential parts of the atmosphere were rotating, which caused the stars to move, the moon, the sun, so on and so forth. And here's what they say. I'm going to put this in the link as well. Okay, I'm going to put this in the description section of the video to explain to you and show you guys. You can go to this yourself. Okay, this came from a university in Argentina. All right, and this is the history of the Stokes theorem. And here is what is interesting of what is said. Okay, it discusses three theorems. That a lot of this can be very confusing, very complicated. I'm still learning it myself. Okay, but here's what's interesting about this. Let me get to this here. Let's see. Okay, here it is. The first, let me blow it up here. The first of these theorems to be stated and proved is essentially its present form was the one known today as Gauss's theorem, or the divergence theorem. In three special cases, it occurs in an 1813 paper of Gauss. Gauss considers a surface, superficies, in space, corpus. Let's say that again. Gauss considers a surface, superficies, in space bounding a solid body corpus. He denotes by PQ the exterior normal vector to the surface at a point P in an infinitesimal element of surface ds, and by x, qx, qy, qz, the angles this vector makes with the positive x-axis, y-axis, and z-axis respectively. Gauss then denotes by d delta, d omega, an infinitesimal element of the yz plane and erects a cylinder above it. This cylinder intersects the surface in an even number of infinitesimal surface elements, dz1, ds1, ds2, etc., ds2 n to the nth. Okay? Since if the cylinder enters the surface where qx is obtuse, it will exit where qx is acute. See figure 1. Now, he notes further that if t, u, v are rotational functions of only yz, only xy, and only xy respectively, then I think that's f, people. T is the cosine of qx plus u, the cosine of xy, qy plus the vector cosine of QZ. Right? Gauss then approximates the volume of the body by taking cylinders of length x in cross-sectional area and concludes in similar. All right. So let's go on here because I don't want to get too much into this. All right. So potentially this is a diagram. Let's just say this is the flat plane Earth, right? Here's where we are. He's putting cylinders on top of here, and he's saying that here's your three-dimensional rotational axes. So that whole idea that we grew up with, saying that the Earth was on an XY axis at 23.5 degrees, these theorems support the idea that the flat plane solid landmass surfaces in the waters are level, but the outer layers are what's on the XY axis, meaning that if you take a gyroscope, a multi-layered gyroscope, the center of it stays stable and stationary, while the outer layers rotate on specific different axes and intersect each other to keep the balance and control. So could it be possible that there is 1,000, 1,100 miles per hour of rotation, but somehow we're still fixed somewhere, God knows where, in space? Okay? We're fixed somewhere in space, and the sun and moon are rotating around us, and the stars are within one of these particular layers. That's a possibility. So again, I'm going to provide the link to this. I need to go over it myself and get a better understanding, read the paper through thoroughly, and I haven't done that. Forgive me on that, people, but there are those of you out there who really love this kind of stuff, just like I do, and you're going to go through it. But I love putting it out raw like this because here is a potential theoretical model that could be used as some sort of alternative foundation to start developing our own models, okay? And I'm going to take you also to the WGS. A WGS lists defining the parameters. And again, the World Geodetic System 1984 works on a curvature frame global. Type of frame is three-dimensional, okay? This is from the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency. And if you see in the description, WGS 84 is an Earth-centered. Earth-centered. Now I want you to understand what that means. Earth-centered, they don't mean the entire planet. They mean the solid land masses and waters. That is what we call Earth. Okay? That is what I'm calling Earth. Then they go on to say Earth-fixed terrestrial reference system and geodetic datum. I say again, WGS 84 is an Earth-centered, Earth-fixed terrestrial reference system. The stars are fixed, people. That's the WGS 84 saying that. The stars are fixed. Now, some of you out there who are just getting into this and learning this, you see the stars moving. Yes, the stars are rotating. But based on Stokes' theorem and Gauss, they're rotating within a specific layer. At what axis? Who knows? We got to read all of this data and put it together. And then we can develop a much more solid model. Okay? WGS is based on a consistent set of constants. Now, key words here, people. The WGS is based on a consistent set of constants, meaning that you have set numbers that say, okay, we know the Earth is flat, non-rotating, okay, plane. But something's going on with the rest of the system. But the WGS helps define that. Okay? and model parameters that describe the Earth's size, shape, and gravity and geomagnetic fields. WGS is the standard U.S. Department of Defense definition of global reference system for geospatial information and is the reference system for the global positioning system. It is compatible with the International Terrestrial Reference System. Now, International Terrestrial Reference System. The International Terrestrial Reference System says the IERS, which is the International Ellipsoid Reference System, is in charge of defining, realizing, and promoting the International Terrestrial Reference System. The ITRS has been recently formally adopted by the, and it goes through all of this that happened in Perugia, Italy. So let's see what's factual here. Okay, the ITRS definition fulfills the following conditions. It is geocentric, its origin being the center mass for the whole Earth, including oceans and atmosphere. Okay? The unit of length is the meter. The scale is consistent with the TCG, time coordinate for geocentric local frame, in agreement with IAU and IUGG resolutions. This is obtained by appropriate relativistic modeling. Its orientation was originally given by the BIH orientation in 1984. The time evolution of the orientation is ensured by using a no net rotation condition. The time evolution of the orientation is ensured by using a no net rotation condition with regards to horizontal tectonic motions over the whole Earth. Okay. This is your system, people. This is your system. It's an ellipsoid with solid mass in the middle. Is it on the equatorial plane? Who knows? But I'm going to show you the images that Lockheed put out. It kind of, brings some clarity to what it may look like. Alright? Because it's very interesting. It's extremely interesting that you have people out there who will say it's a globe, it's a ball. It's not a ball. That is for damn sure. That's for damn sure. There is no fucking way it's a fucking marble. It's an ellipsoid. And the reason why you can't get any view of what it really looks like, because they're traveling over a specific area of the plane that at a specific altitude where it's giving the appearance that it's some sort of ball, showing curvature. But what the curvature you see is actually the outer rim, the outer, the distant areas of the ellipsoid, giving that appearance. Why they're doing that, I don't know. Could be from the concave and curved lenses of the camera that's actually shooting the video and taking the stills. Who knows? I'm more in the direction of the latter. That it all has to do with optical distortion and the design of the equipment that they're using. Okay? So let's go to this. Alright? Here's the international. I'm going to put this in the description link as well. You all can go to it. And let's go through here. Let's see the International Ellipsoid Reference. The standard theory of equipotential ellipsoids regards the normal theoretical gravitational potential as a harmonic function outside the ellipsoid, which implies the absence of an atmosphere. Thus, the computations are based on the theory of an equipotential ellipsoid without an atmosphere. The reference ellipsoid is defined to enclose the whole mass of the Earth, including the atmosphere. As a visualization, the atmosphere can be considered to be condensed as a surface layer on the ellipsoid. The normal theoretical gravity field at the Earth's surface and in space can therefore be computed without any need for considering the variation of atmospheric density. Okay? And again, this will be available in my box files. You can go and download it yourself. I'm going to provide the link, and you all just go through this information. This is an additional argument. This is additional documentary support to those who are on the idea that the Earth is not a ball, is not a globe that we see in classrooms and we see on photos, but it is in fact an ellipsoid. Now, I said in fact. I only use that term loosely for the simple reason that there's just too many symbols out there. There's too many references to this system, and it's a universal agreement that the entire Earth system is a giant, expanding, flattening ellipsoid. Flattening ellipsoid, okay? It's a flattening ellipsoid with a flat plane surface in the middle. Okay? Flat plane surface. And just to prove that to you is this. Defining of the parameters. WGS identifies 4 defining parameters. These are the semi-major axis of the WGS 84 ellipsoid, the flattening factor of the Earth. There shouldn't be any argument there, people. The flattening factor of the Earth, the nominal mean angular velocity of the Earth, and the geocentric gravitational constants as specified below. Now, I don't believe in gravity. I don't. You know, there's a quote put out by a guy by the name of David Russell. We live in a Newtonian world of Einsteinian physics ruled by Frankenstein logic. David Russell. Now, what do they mean by the nominal mean angular velocity of the Earth? If you want to accept what I previously said about their outer layers that are rotating, then we're talking about the nominal mean angular velocity of the outer areas, the outer layers. The geocentric gravitational constant could be based on inertia and velocity, because the Earth's not accelerating. But the constant velocity, the nominal mean angular velocity of the outer layers, they're rotating at a specific speed, let's just say, just for general, 1100 miles an hour, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. So the Earth is not slowing down and speeding up. So that's your constant. That angular momentum, that velocity, could be what's creating what we have been told since growing up to create gravity. But that gravity is a centrifugal force. It's an inertial force. You know, we've all seen the videos online where you spin a disc around in one direction, put it on a stick or steel rod, and it's just very difficult to move it in specific direction. It takes a lot of force and energy to move it in an opposite direction. It is of my belief and my understanding that that's what's creating what we believe to be gravity. But here's the issue. We're stationary. We don't feel this because the Earth is just so massive. So you're in a flat plane surface. And anyone who's ever gone to any amusement park and done those type of gyroscope type of rides where you put your hands and feet up and you rotate it in one direction and then the outer layers are rotating in another direction, and just the faster and the more force you put in to get it to rotate, you get this momentum going, and bam, the next thing you know, you don't feel the forces on your body anymore. It's the same concept, people. They're describing it right here. The semi-major axis, A, notation. Flattening factor of the Earth, 1 divided by the flattening, 298.257 and change. Nominal mean angular velocity of the Earth. I think that's a question mark. I don't know. But here's some of the math. The value, 7,292,115 times 10 to the minus 11 radians per second. We gotta do the math, people. That's the only way to be able to tell. And again, my understanding is becoming dynamic. There's some rotation out there. The whole planet's not moving. That's a given. We're fixed. We're on a fixed flat plane. The moon is not creating the tidal waves. It's the nominal mean angular velocity of the outer layers that are allowing the waters to recede and come back onto shore. That's what's creating. Because you have a solid mass and you have a liquid mass. Right? Doesn't it make logical sense, people? Occam's razor, right? Relationship with other reference systems. So again, I'm starting to really take down some notes and put this all together, and it's all explained here. And again, I'm going to put the link up for this particular document in the description so you can all look at it for yourselves. There's going to be information in here you just don't want to believe, you don't want to accept. And if you want to reject everything that's put out in front of you as far as documentation is concerned, but you just want to keep trying to putting up pictures because you can prove that the earth is flat, well, guess what? You're wasting your time because you're repeating something that probably the 200, 300 million people are also repeating, and they know the same things as well. But the goal and objective of this mission is not to continue to shove down the throat, oh, the earth is flat, the earth is flat, but to clarify and define the whole entire system. And this information I'm providing you here helps us define the entire system. It's right here in black, white, and blue. Black, white, and blue, people. So, why don't we go to that video? I want to show you something interesting. And then I'm going to end this. So I'm going to show you this video from Lockheed Martin's website. I mean, not their website, but their YouTube channel. And the name of this video is called Building Amazing. And I want you to listen to what she says with regard to mapping and the image she actually shows. And then I'll pause it as soon as she shows it. Okay? Here we go.
We have been imaging.
Is Mars.
We have been imaging.
So she says Lockheed Martin has been imaging. Now, here's what's important. Okay? I'm going to assume that this is the Earth. That's what I'm going to say. Some of you may look at this and say that this is the moon. Regardless of what it may be, I'm going to say it's the Earth. Now, this is the Earth. This is the image, the thermal image of the Earth. 70% water, right? So all this blue, this is water. You got some land masses here, you got some green. There's a lot of craters and shit like that. You know, don't put too much focus and attention on that. But here's something I want to focus on. This intense red up here is the thermosphere. This is the thermosphere, people. This is the thermosphere. And if we look at the Earth, maybe being in the middle here, the flat plane surfaces. Here's flat plane surfaces. Because we know this can't be a fucking ball. It just can't be. Because if it were a ball and Florida, say, was down here and it's launching up into this space here, okay, and it's taking that arc, it's kind of jumping up and out, then that means it's jumping inside the thermosphere, right? If this were Florida, say right down in this area here, and every time the space shuttle or some rocket took off, it's going vertical, 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 and then it takes that arc and jumping into the thermosphere. Jumping into the thermosphere. Now, the question I have to ask myself is, Why would you be taking that arc and that horizontal plane to jump into the thermosphere? Of course, yeah, you got to go through the thermosphere. That's common fucking sense. It's common sense. But could it be that they're jumping inside this thermodynamic environment to go inside or on the other side of the ellipsoid where there's something up? Because when you look at this ellipsoid and then you compare it with the ball marble, there's more fucking land, people, when you look at this ellipsoid. There has to be. Because if this is all, say, the United States, and this is Europe, and this area here is all Europe, Russia, Africa, Middle East, we're only looking at a flat view of this ellipsoid, but what about what's on the backside and around this fucking thing? What's on the backside and around it? I tell you what's on the backside, on the other side of this damn thing. Way more fucking land than what they're telling us. So could it be the existence of some sort of portal? Could it be possibly be? Is it possible? When you look at this imaging map from Lockheed Martin, you got to ask yourself, you got to start now and reevaluate every damn thing that you've been considering as what could be the potential model, because this is it. This is it. This is it right here. DARPA believes this, and so does the DOD and the White House, and I'll prove it to you. So here you go, people. There's DARPA's logo right there. That's DARPA, Defense Advanced Research Project Agency. It's an ellipsoid. It's an ellipsoid. And as you can see, they show you, you got a layer here, which is supposed to be the top. You've got one layer, second layer, third layer, fourth layer. This is DARPA's logo. And here goes the White House. White House, an ellipsoid. With the White House in the middle. DARPA, White House. DARPA, White House. The Earth is an ellipsoid, people, with a solid mass body in the center. The flat, solid dirt, sand, rocks, pebbles, dog shit, mountains, hills, flat foundation your fucking house sits on, and the waters, liquid mass. The rest of the system, some sort of rotating type of angular body of gas and helium superfluid or dark matter, dark fluid, or who knows. That's what it is. But you got to decide for yourself. I'm going to put all the links in the description for you to do your own research. And let's start working towards something that can be taken serious instead of fucking guessing. Use the documentation, people. Or please shut the fuck up. Remember, it's not what you know. It's what you can prove. Peace.